Hi everyone, this is Bina Kavalam and I'm here presenting the group coaching for Team Bina. So I'm excited that you guys are here. I hope you guys are all here and ready to learn about informational interviewing. So if you are here and you're joining me live, please do put your name and information, just say hello to me really, on the chat box on the page that we've talked about. Okay, so I am going to start sharing my my presentation. I have a presentation. I want to make sure it works, so let me test it out first so you can see it. Yep, I think it'll work. So this is great. So I'm not going to share it yet. I want to make sure there's some folks on the call before I get started. I got some questions that did come in. So if you, first of all, say hello to me. Let me know you're there. I won't see it for a few minutes, but hopefully I'll start and then you'll see it. But also I want to, excuse me. I want to have the, excuse me. That's better. Okay, so but hopefully I'll get it in a couple minutes. And the other piece of it is if you have questions that you want to ask me about informational interviewing, how to network, even personal branding, I'm going to touch on that a little bit today as well. Please put it in the chat box. You're also welcome to join me live here now, because it'll make it more fun and I can answer your questions if you haven't submitted them already. Okay? And also you'll get to experience some of the information live now. I'm going to send out the information to everyone so that hopefully some more folks will join us live, and I'll be right back. Okay. All right. Okay, for some reason it's not working, so I'm just going to get started and hopefully we can record it and work from there. Okay, so I did get some questions from 3 folks that had some questions that I'll definitely make sure I address. Before I go to do that, I am going to share and talk through some slides that I prepared. Now these slides are, hopefully you'll have some questions and we can talk about it. Here we go. Okay, so you'll see here informational interviewing, and it's going to be basics. Now, we're going to talk also about networking. I'm hopeful that there will be some more questions that come through so that I can answer them, but this is all going to be about informational interviewing. So here's what to expect out of this training. What we're going to talk about is why personal branding is important and how it's critical for informational interviewing. You know, that's one of the reasons why I tacked this on. I was talking to some fellows, you know, today and in the last couple of days, and I realized you guys are not personal branding yourself yet. And I think that's a really important thing for you to do before you can start informational interviewing, before you can start really going into CTLS. So I'm going to recommend that you understand what your personal brand is. And even if you don't have it fully vetted, at least start moving in that direction. And then help you. The informational interviews will help inform the personal brand, and what you say about yourself. But it will also you're gonna need to meet someone in that informational interview, and personal branding is going to be very critical for standing out and being remembered. What is informational interviewing and why it's a must for your networking strategy? Another key thing we're going to talk about is really what is it? What is your process for going? Also going to talk about you know, a simple step-by-step process for finding, prepping, and executing your informational interviews. Okay. So go brand yourself. I had to put a little jersey in there. So go brand yourself is something that I'm thinking of I want to share with you. So here is a picture of me and my brand story. And I always start off by introducing myself and talking about some of my experiences for folks who may not have had the experience of knowing who I am. So I'm Bina Kabalam, and I am the career and life strategist for professionals on the rise. And today I'm going to be talking to you about informational interviewing. Now, the key thing here is I wanted to share my brand story, my personal brand, by sharing the brands that are made a key component of my background. I have a large experience, or excuse me, have a long experience working with Accenture. I worked there for many years as a management consultant, working in the communications and high-tech industry. I also worked in government, and I also worked for another company. You don't see their brand here, but I also worked for a small boutique pharmaceutical consulting company as well, right while I was in business school at NYU Stern. And while I was at Stern, I switched careers from consulting to brand management, and had a great time at Stern. Really loved it. But afterwards, I worked at Bayer Consumer Care, working on the Bayer aspirin and Flintstones vitamins brands. And then after a few years working there, switched to a different, faster-turning business, and moved out to work on International Delight, specifically on their iced coffee new launch. We launched a whole new ready-to-drink iced coffee category, and it was a thrill to be able to work on that as well. But after about a year working there, I decided I wanted to start my own company. And it was a dream of mine to do that. And about literally 2 years ago today, I signed the papers to start my own company, Personal Revolution Coaching. And so it's my big thrill to be able to do that. And I own my own company as an entrepreneur, and so it's a thrill to be able to do that as well. Okay, you also see here I'm a certified professional coach, which you all pretty much know, as I've talked to you about the coactive training model. Okay, all right, so next I'm going to share with you why brand you. Okay, so it's, I personally believe that each and every one of us should take control of our personal brand. We each have a brand, all right? Right now, you probably didn't know it, but you have a brand right now. The problem is you may not be in control of your brand. You may not know what people are thinking about you and what they're saying about you. But everything from the way you dress, from the way you talk, from your persona is your brand. Now, you can own your brand, or someone else will, whether that be your boss, whether that be your colleagues, whether it be anyone who's going to be talking about you and recommending you. So really own your brand, and it's critical to do so. So I'm going to share with you a simple tip for how to do that. It's a framework that I use, and we can go from there. So how to brand you. How to brand you is something I call, your personal brand is something I call your personal competitive advantage. And this is something that I strongly believe each and every one of us really needs to own. Your personal competitive advantage is, why are you important to the situation? Why should I care? And also, what do you bring to the table? So let's go through all of this. It's very important to know this concept. So let's talk first about the who. The who is, who are you? Really, like, what are your background? What are your skills? What do you bring to the table? This is really what a lot of people, this is where people stop. They just know who they are. So they can, maybe I'm a manager, or maybe I'm a lawyer, or maybe I am a person who is really extroverted and is really good with people. But you don't go any deeper than that. You just talk about what you are generally. But really who you are should be about, what are you good at? What are your strengths? What are those areas about you that people like and that you like? The next part of this is who you are. What is your unique strength? The you is talking about what are you uniquely the best at, okay? What is uniquely you? Now, this can be one specific thing that you're excellent at, better than your peers. Or it can be a mix of things. So this is how you stand out in that sea of samies, okay? What I call the sea of samies. How are you different? And what makes you different? And why is that a good thing? Okay, so it's what people remember. What I like to say for this is, what do people thank you for? When you think about the you and what you're unique about, what do people thank you for? So for me, my personal brand is I'm a little bit Jersey, okay, as you kind of can tell. I call myself the Indian Jersey girl because I am born and bred in Jersey, but I'm of Indian descent, and I do still have that. My personal brand is called High Chai, and High Chai is all about high performance, high integrity, high execution, high delivery, high energy, but chai is that unique mix of skills. There is no other person on the planet, I bet you, that has a consulting experience working at a top-tier company like Accenture, has worked on brands in the pharmaceutical industry like I had with a CPG background, and worked in food, and has a coaching certification in the specific modality that I have, coactive coaching, and owns her own company, and is just as cool as I am, or brings that kind of front to you in Jersey, kind of Jersey girl style, that only I can bring. Kind of loudmouth, kind of friendly, but still outgoing, always with a heart. So there is no one on the planet that has those unique skills, that unique bunch of skills. And so my brand, High Chai, is reflective of that. So that is my you. The last part is the why. Why does that uniqueness matter? Why should we care? And when I say we, I mean the person who you're introducing yourself to, the person who you're networking with, the person who you are trying to get a job with. Why should we care? All of these are really important elements. Okay, so extremely important. And the next piece of this is trying to figure out, what does this mean for you? So all of these components together are your personal competitive advantage. You know what you're good at, which is the who. You know what you are great, I'm going to say the bestest, or as my niece would say, but as the best that you are, okay, what you are really good at. And why does it matter to the marketplace? Okay, your personal competitive advantage. All right, so once you've understand that, and I'm going to ask you all to kind of do this exercise on your own. Take a good look at the sheet, take some notes on this, and then do it for yourself. Now I'm going to jump into informational interviewing, okay? What is an informational interview? It's an informal conversation with a professional in an area of interest to you. Let me just check to see if there's anybody on the call at this point. Oh, we've got 5 viewers. Lovely. Okay. Wonderful. Well, I'm so excited that you guys are here. Very excited. And thank you for being here. If you guys do have questions, please put them into the chat, and I will hopefully talk to you during the answer any of your questions. Okay, so what is an informational interview? Okay, informal conversation with a professional working in an area of interest to you. This person is going to give you information and advice on your field of interest. Now, the key thing here is that you may or you may not. This person can be somebody who is very senior, can be somebody who is just starting out. The whole idea behind an informational interview is to get information, really about the role, about the industry, about the functional area, but it's to get that information. to help you inform, help you inform your decision about either going into that industry or how to perform well in your interviews, because you're gathering data, you're collecting this information. All right. So why conduct informationals? Okay, I just kind of said that already. You want to gather information. It's a tool to learn about the industry, the function, the role. All of this is just gathering information. And because it's a data gathering tool, of course, I don't want you to just put it in lots of different pieces of paper and Post-its and stuff. I am going to recommend that you use a piece of paper to take notes during the discussion, but then transfer that to a spreadsheet. So you have a consistent way of tracking all this information. And I'm going to tell you what to capture in a few slides, but having a system for yourself that you use for all your informationals will be extreme help when you are looking to capture information about any of your companies, about any of your future job opportunities. What I did was I kept a massive master spreadsheet. Okay, the spreadsheet was everything about all my. It had all my informationals in it. It had all my company research in it. It had all of my follow-ups on anybody who I met, anybody who I sent a thank you note to. All of this information was in one massive spreadsheet, and I remember putting it on Google on a Google Share drive, and just because I wanted to access it. I accessed it so much when I was in business school, and I just kept adding to it and adding to it, and I would have a different tab for everything that was relevant around the job search, and it was really helpful to me because it was all in one place. And so think about what will work for you and make it work for yourself. I was sick and tired of putting multiple copies of it and not having the right information when I needed it. So luckily I thought about Google Drive at the time and then put it up there, and it was easy to have and access. Okay, why else conduct an informational? Well, building your network is so important. And so you're going to be meeting with people in a potential industry that you're interested in. Yeah, it's a great opportunity to network. You also want to improve your communication skills and practice your story. Now, every time you practice your story, it's a great way to test out, does your story sell? Is this something that people want to hear? Is this something that resonates with people in this industry? If it doesn't, change it. So the informationals are a real safe way to test this stuff out. And the biggest part of this is that if you don't test it out and you just try it out in the formal interview when you're interviewing for your dream job, well, that's a little too late. This is a great opportunity for you to get your to practice it down and get it really solid and get the information you need. Because remember, you're also collecting information. You're collecting information about what are the terms in the industry that I should be using. What are the key acronyms of the industry? I used to have an acronym list for all my brand terms that I had to figure out. I had a whole consulting list, and then I had a brand list, and I had key terms, and I had things I had to figure out when I didn't understand what this guy was, who this brand manager I was talking to was saying. So I was like, I had to figure out what it was, or ask a friend of mine who worked in brand, and then I knew it, and then I could start. What happened is that after I did about 20 informationals in this specific, in CPG, I started to talk the talk. Like, I started really understanding and becoming so knowledgeable about the CPG industry, about branding. I was starting to really talk like a marketer. And that was really important for me because I switched careers. And so because I did so many informationals and I knew all the stories and I was kept pushing and pushing and pushing and not pushing but just going for it, by the time that I actually had to interview, I was so much more relaxed, and I was also so much, I was talking like a brand manager. And it was even one of my interviewers actually mentioned that. She said to me, she goes, you really seem polished. Have you worked in brand before? And I go, no. and she was surprised. So think about that as you're doing your informationals too. You're trying to get the nomenclature down too. And if you have questions, we can talk about the questions to ask as well. But the biggest thing as to why to conduct an informational, you do not ask for a job or an internship. It is not a job interview. I recently gave a speech in New York, and someone came up to me afterwards and asked for an internship. I could not believe it. Couldn't believe it. I said, you know, she's like, I love what your company speaks about, and I'd love to know, do you do an internship? I'd love to have one. I'm like, no, that's just not the way it's handled. And I just think you gotta make sure you know that there are places for these things. And asking for a job or an internship is just not. This is not it. Okay. So how do I find people to interview? Well, I'm going to ask you guys, those of you who are on the call or right now, the ones who are watching, I want to ask you, I'm going to tell you a couple here, but I want you to brainstorm for yourself while I'm talking through this, and I'm going to give you a minute in a few minutes, in a few seconds to do it yourself. But obviously your personal network, definitely use LinkedIn, and you also want conferences and networking events. But I'm going to ask you guys who are on the call right now with me, the 6 of you, I want you to type in the chat box, what are some things that you think you can use to find people to interview for these informationals. Start putting them in here and as I go through this slide, okay? Just put them in the chat. So how do I find people to interview? Your personal network. So what I recommend for all of you is that you go through your list of contacts and start with you in the center, and start by going off and saying, okay, well, me, all right, then there's my immediate family, okay, that's the next ring, and then in my immediate family, is there anyone that is working in the industry that I know of, that I want to work in? Are there any consultants, or are there any brand managers? Anybody working for a company that I would want to work for, like Nike, or even if they're not working in that specific field that you're interested in. Maybe they work for the company, or they know people, or their significant other is. And then you think about the next level of people in your network, and you branch out. And then you also ask people in your network, can you help me? This is what I'm looking for. That's why it's very important to understand your brand. Know what you bring to the table, and so then you can communicate it and say, okay, I know what I bring to the table. I know I'm a strong analytical thinker, and I know I bring that to the table to this new field that I want to go to. Every time you introduce yourself to someone, you're going to bring that up. You're going to talk about your personal, the reason you stand out, but you're also going to talk about where you want to go. And even if you don't know completely where you want to go, you're going to craft a story for yourself that will kind of push you in that right direction. So let me explain this. If you want to go into brand, you kind of know you want to go into brand. You're not completely sure, but you kind of think you want to, and you want to talk to more brand managers so that you can figure this out and figure out if it's right for you. Well, you got to know what you bring to the table first, because in brand, right, people want to know, all right, tell me why I should be listening to you, right? Well, if you're a strong analytical thinker, that's a huge benefit for folks working in marketing. And if you know and you can talk to what you bring to the table, that is a huge plus. So you got to know what you bring to the table, especially if you want to go into brand. And then when you meet with them, you're going to get more information. Now, how does this relate to how do I find people to interview? Is that when you start talking to, say, your cousin, saying, hey, I'm really interested in a brand, I'm really interested in working in brand management. I know I've got these analytical skills, which is exactly what they're looking for in brand. Do you know anybody? instead of just saying, oh, I really want to meet somebody and working in brand, you're bringing a specific knowledge or know-how to it. You're tainting it just a little bit by saying, you know, I bring something else to the table and I know what they want. That makes you more likely to for people to want to, you know, to listen to you and to potentially help you and tell other people about you, right? Because you're doing more than the norm. Same thing goes for LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is also a great way to connect. I'm going to just take a break now and look to see if there's any contacts. Perfect. I love this. Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. Really? Oh, thanks for putting all this on here. Okay, so some ideas were the MLT network. Awesome. Ashley, thank you very much. O'Brien has written a school's alumni database. Good call, O'Brien. That is definitely right. You want to put in stuff that, you know, definitely use. You're going to be paying almost over $100,000. Well, actually, no. Most of you guys won't. Dang it. You guys are all awesome. You guys got scholarships and all that good stuff. But if you're like me, you're going to pay $100,000 for business school, and use that alumni database, right? That's what it's there for. So use it to your advantage. Professional organizations, William, that's an awesome one. Yes, you definitely want to use any professional organizations that you're a part of. That's also a great way, specifically because it's so functionally specific. You get a great network that way, right? Even if it's like a young alumni network or a young professionals network in your town or your city, that can be great too. They're always, people know people, and they can definitely help you. Contacts I've made with my first-year MBAs, cool, awesome, that are heading into their internships. Definitely leverage your first years, you know. Not to say that that's what they're there for, but yeah, definitely, totally. You want to use that, those connections with your first year. You're going to be making friends with them. You're going to be at the same business school. You know, definitely start reaching out to them and get the inside scoop. Don't forget those first years because they can be very powerful. School alumni and organizations that I am involved with. Yep, Jackie, that's so good stuff, guys. Yep, Tanya's also put it on. Yep. Community and professional organizations. Awesome. So great stuff, you guys. Guys, I knew I'd put your question out to you guys and you'd come through. So awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so I am going to move on now. We've already the other thing was conferences. I do want to share one LinkedIn tip with you. It's a kind of ninja LinkedIn tip, but I hope it will serve you. What I think is really important is using LinkedIn, and like we even talked about earlier, I think it was you know, somebody mentioned earlier about, you know, using the LinkedIn MLT, right? Well, MLT has a LinkedIn group. Join that. Make sure you're a part of that one too. But groups on LinkedIn can be your stealth ninja way of getting to know people and connecting with them without having to pay that LinkedIn email, that in-mail thing. If you're in the same group as someone else, you can send them a note for free. So what I do, or what you can do, is look up the people that do a search on people that are in, say, CPG marketing, or working for Bain Consulting, or working in luxury hoteling. Okay, if that's your area of interest, Google them up on, sorry, not Google, LinkedIn them up by using the LinkedIn search function. Then you find a whole list of people that are close to you from your network. Look at those people, click on their profiles, and see what groups they are in. Join those groups. And when you join those groups and you get accepted to those groups, then you can email those people that you identified and send them a note. Now, some people will respond negatively to this, but I think that there are some that are going to respond positively if you send a kind note saying, you know, I saw you on LinkedIn, we're in the same group together, and mention the group name, and I saw your profile and thought, you know, you were such a you know, I wanted to find out more about your story, or was very interested in finding out more about your success, things like that. Pay a slight compliment in your email and just ask to connect. Don't ask for anything more, just ask to connect on LinkedIn. Once you've connected with them, put some goodness out to them about their company or about their corporation or about whatever they're doing, and maybe send them an article or something or whatever, and then dun dun dun, then you can ask for the informational. I know it sounds like a lot of legwork, but it works. It's a lot better than just cold calling people. That was a question that came through, and you don't want to cold call anybody. Nobody likes that. That's not fair. That's not fun. And don't do it. Don't be one of those. It's just a waste of time. Cold calling is not efficient, because you're just basically sending out a note into the ether, and you've made no connection with anyone. So it's something that you want to do. All right. Next. Okay, we've already done this. Great. So awesome, you guys. Okay, so now we're actually talking about what is the process for informational interviewing. And so I call this the lead up to an informational interview. So you're going to meet or find this contact. So let's just talk about when you meet them, okay? So suppose you're at a networking event, okay? Suppose you're at CTLS. Let's just go there, okay? And you're at CTLS or any conference, and you meet this person from your ideal company or any company. Let's just say this person is an alum of MLT or an alum of the organization you're a part of, and is interested in connecting. That's why, let's just call her is there. That's why she's there. And you want to connect. You meet with her, you connect, you build a rapport, and you find one point of commonality. In this case, it would be beyond being a part of MLT or any common network. You want to find one commonality. Maybe it's you're both from New York, or maybe you are both Rutgers fans. Rutgers, holla. But maybe you are both, I don't know, Yankees fans. I don't know. You think of one commonality. Find it in the conversation. You're steering the conversation to find the commonality, okay? It can be on any topic. All right? Maybe you both saw the last Spider-Man movie. I don't know what it is, okay? And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to send a thank you note within 24 hours of meeting the person. As close as you can to that, but definitely within 24 hours. And then in that session, you're going to start off in that email with, it was such a pleasure meeting you at the networking event with PepsiCo today, this evening. It's so rare to find another Jane Austen book fan. I don't know. And then you have that connection, and then you talk a little bit about what you're doing. You're a student at a booth, and you are interested in working as a management consultant, and she happens to be a management consultant. And then ask politely for the informational interview. You can do it in two ways. You can do it, one, by asking first to connect, say on LinkedIn or just through like social media, or you can ask directly for the informational interview. What I would do if I was in your case was, when I met the contact at this MLT event, I would ask to connect on LinkedIn. Okay? Then I would send the follow-up email through their business card, right? And you get their business card. When you get their business card when they're networking, you write your point of commonality on the back, and then you send your thank you note, and then you ask for the informational interview in the thank you note. So that way you've already connected with them on LinkedIn, you have built rapport, you got the commonality, you sent a thank you note, and now you're asking for something. Most people will say yes, especially those with MLT. Questions? If you have questions, make sure you put them into the note, into the box, the same place that you put all your ideas, and I'll make sure to get to answer that. Whoops. Huh, I lost a second. There you go. Okay, next is, okay, why is it focusing on me? That's weird. Okay, hi everyone. Sorry, let's go back here. Okay, there we go. Okay, the next piece is we're going to go through, yes, so we did the prep. Why is that? Here we go. So now we've done the lead up, and now you've actually secured your informational interview. Okay, so you've booked it, right? Make sure you put in your calendar, whether it be Google Calendar, your iPhone, iCal, whatever works for you, okay? But make sure you book it and you don't miss that information. You make sure you get the right information in there and put it in. Next is the prep. You always want to research the field, the role, the company, all of that stuff before you start the interview, okay? You don't want to go in there and ask some rookie question, right? You want to ask some meaty, good questions. And no, you know, so that's why you want to have some just general understanding of the role, the company. I know a lot of people differ with me on this. They say, oh, you know, these informational are, you know, are a lot of these informationals are more for knowledge gathering, and you can be basically basic. I think, to be honest, if it's me doing this, I don't want to ask a rookie question. I want to ask those more thoughtful questions because that is going to help me stand out in a more positive way, right? And so by doing a little research, remember that's one of the reasons why I'm having you all do those company research assignments, so you get comfortable researching companies really easily, and that's, I think, helpful. You want to understand and prep for the interview. You want to do a 30-second pitch. So this is why it's important to understand your brand, right? Understand what you bring to the table in that sea of same-mates, right? Why are you different than everybody else? And why is that a good thing to the company or to the person or to the industry, etc.? Questions you want to ask. It can be anything from, you know, like a day in the life. What's a day in the life working at Godiva? I don't know. Or what's a day in the life working at Bain? Tell me about the candidates that are high performers. What do they do? You know, or people coming in. What do you look for in high performing candidates? Get the information that you really want, right? You want to know what these high performers do or what strong candidates do. Right? So if you can do that and you get that information, you can use that and collect that information and then work on it. Right? So make sure you outline what your open-ended questions are and have them all down. You're going to want to create your note sheet, which I'll show you in a second, and then you're going to want to conduct the interview. You are really leading the discussion in the interview. It's not, you want to facilitate it. You want to obviously listen to them and ask and have them talk as much as possible. But you've got to be the one owning this, right? You want to get there on the call them exactly on time. They may be, you know, flustered, maybe not even ready for you. Be patient. You know, totally accept me to say, hey, that's totally fine. What's the best time to call you back? Or they may say they may even need to reschedule. You're totally cool with that. Just ask to politely reschedule. But for the most part, people will be willing to meet with you on the time that you've designated. So be on time. And then make sure you honor their time. So if they've given you, say, 20 minutes, you make sure you're only taking 20 minutes of their time. If they give you 30, oh, awesome. Use the 30, but if you run out of questions, then end early. But hopefully you won't run out of questions, right? It's all about building rapport. Right? So you're going to ask some questions, but you're also going to build rapport with these folks because they're in the industry that you want to be in. And you also want to build your network. So figure out you know, how long it will take for you and make sure you either use that time or just a little bit under it. Okay? Always send a thank you note. and follow up within 24 hours. So I hear talk about your note sheet. This is your note sheet that you're going to use to take all your notes during the informational. And so here are some basics for this for the note sheet. Okay, so you're going to want to put all of your logistics down. Your name. Sorry, not your name. The name of the person who you're interviewing. And this is something else. What I would do is make sure you phonetically spell it. You don't want to mispronounce their name. So if you're on the phone with them and they you say you don't know how to say their name, ask them, and then phonetically spell it for yourself on the piece of paper, the notes. Okay, so you never mispronounce it again, right? You always want to make sure a name is something so personal to someone that when somebody takes the time to say it correctly, you light up. You'll always remember it. I know for one of my my mentors, he introduced. I had this opportunity to speak on stage with him, and everybody messes up my name. Bina Kavalam, Bina what? It's fine. People mess up my name all the time. And so he was going to introduce me. He has no clue who I am. So I thought he's going to mess up my name. So I was going to introduce myself again. And the thing that threw me off was he got my name right. Could not believe it. It was, first of all, the biggest thrill to be on the same stage as my biggest mentor, Brendan Burchard. He also got my name right. Ah, awesome. Anyway, but a name is so sweet. So you want to make sure you get the person's name right. Name, their company and their role, their phone number, and the date to call. So you want to make sure you have their phone number in case something goes wrong. You might have to call them back, or you have their email address as well. I should have put that in here, but name and email is very important. Okay, notes on you. What are your key strengths? So again, you are wanting to know what are your your why, your you, and the who, the you, and the why. So, who are you? What do you bring to the table? What is distinctively differentiating about you? And why is that important to this industry? Okay? Knowing all three is really going to help you stand out. And then you have your questions here. Okay? So you would have your questions that you're going to list out here, and then you're going to just put the answer right across from it. And that it's all on one page. And then you can always use the back of it. I just typically take a white piece of paper that I got from the printer, and I fold it into four halves, into four quadrants, and then I just use these four quadrants for each of it. And then if I have extra additional questions or notes, I just put it on the back. And then what I do is I take my informational, the sheet, and then I input it into a master spreadsheet. This master spreadsheet has all of my information, every informational I've done, all of the notes I've taken, anything that's relevant. So it's all in one place. And then I store it up on Google Drive, and I have it forever. It's safe. So I want to now put the question out to you guys, okay? I want you to, what kind of questions would you ask in an informational? So I want you to write down in the chat function right now, what are some questions that you have that you'd like me to potentially give you feedback on, or say is a nay or say. Just put some questions into the chat box right now, and I'm going to go forward a little bit, maybe answer one or two questions, but then I'm going to come back to this because I want to see some questions that you might ask and see if it's something that we might put in an informational. Okay, so do it now. Put some questions into the information. Put questions you would ask in an information into the chat box. Okay. Let me go back and see what's next. Questions. Haha, perfect. Okay, so this is the questions exercise. So put your questions that you might ask in an informational there, and I'm going to start looking through the questions that came through, and then if there's any additional questions, please be sure to put that into the chat function as well. So what is the format of an informational interview? I think I've kind of gone through that, so I feel pretty good about that. Is it just to ask questions about the company or role, or do they also ask questions to find out about you? You know, it depends. Sometimes I've been in informationals where I didn't say a word. The guy just kept talking, and so you know it can be kind of daunting. Those are one of mine where I find that when I'm with the most senior folks, I ask one or two good questions, and then they just go off, and they just start talking, and it's hard for me to even say a word in edgewise. I've also found that in some other cases, they also ask a lot about me, you know, and that's why you need to be prepared. You know, sometimes they ask about you as what do you bring to the table? What are you looking for in terms of a job or a role? I always have my questions prepared, and I usually have one or two backups as well, in case you know, just because I don't, in case we run out of conversation, I want to make sure I have some questions that we just don't leave that lull in the conversation and you know that awkward silence type thing. But I also ask questions about, you know, I stay curious. You know, if there's something awesome, like if they mention something really cool that they've done. And even if it's not on my list of questions, I'm curious and I want to find out more. And my curiosity is something that people really like, because when you're curious, you show interest, and that's very flattering, right? You know, people love to talk about what they've done. And so when you're curious about it and you ask thoughtful questions and relevant questions, say about their strategy, like what did you think about this, you improve your stature with that person. So think about that as you're asking the question. Just be curious, and that can help a lot. When is it ever appropriate to cold call a firm organization? I don't really cold call. I don't think it's appropriate. I mean, it could be. I just don't personally think it's a smart move, because if you don't have a warm lead, you just don't stand out, right? And when you cold call an organization, is it just you're sending your resume out to them? I'm not sure completely, but if that's the case, then they may not be willing, you know, ready to accept your resume or your your request for an informational. And you want to always start warm a little bit, or start semi-warm, like I did with that LinkedIn example. That's a way to start where you did not know this person. And it's kind of ninja move where you make it warm, right? You start off, and then you start to warm it up by having interactions with this person. Sending a personal note, that warms it up. What is the healthiest way to foster multiple newly created relationships without creating a burden during business school? I'm going to put this out to you guys. I want you to brainstorm it after we talk about this next one. So let me go back. Let me take a pause there and go back to the question I asked for you guys to see if there's anybody who responded. 1 second. Why is this not coming back? That is weird. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Awesome. Okay, so okay, hear about your career progression and what attracted you to this industry and role. Awesome, great. I think that's a good one. You know, people always want to hear about. You know, people always want those questions that will help them talk about what they've done, and that's a great question to use. You know, tell me about your career progression and what attracted you to this industry and role is a good way to start out. And I think that's helpful to get them starting to talk. You ask about the actual job function and corporate culture questions. Talking about corporate culture is a really good move because you're trying to understand what it's like to work in that organization. And that's information you want to capture and put into your spreadsheet, right? So good job there. I think that's another good question. Also about the job function itself, like what are you doing on a day-to-day? Yeah, that's definitely cool. That's something you definitely want to include. What would be the top 3 skills you would say someone in this role possesses? Yeah, absolutely. Top 3 skills. I love that. That's a good question because it's something that you know, something that is going to help move you forward, and it gives them a little bit of, they have to think about it. And that's definitely some information you want to have. Another way of talking about that is, what are some common traits of associates at this organization? Same thing. That's a really good one too. And what skills do you think are common among successful people in your company? So all three of these are around that same area. Like, what are skills, common traits, you know, etc., of people who are successful in this role, right? You're trying to navigate and get that information out. So all good stuff. Okay, so let me go back and answer some more questions here. What is the healthiest way to foster multiple newly created relationships at school without a burden, without creating a burden? Okay, one of the things I think you can do is you want to make sure once you've built a relationship with folks, you want to make it almost you want to make sure you keep those connections alive. And how you keep those connections alive is you keep in contact with them. So if you're connected, say, on LinkedIn, and you know that they are they work for, say, a big conglomerate that is doing a transformational outsourcing deal. Just going to say that, okay? And you happen to find an article on transformational outsourcing, right? And this person happens to be working on one. You know, maybe you send a note. You say, oh, this might be helpful for you. Or, you know, maybe you find, you send a note with a link to the article on LinkedIn, or you send a private email. Either way, but these are things that when you keep them in your Rolodex in your mind, and, and when you think about it, you think of them, and then you send something that might be helpful to them. I know that sounds like a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but it is so helpful. I tried this technique because, honestly, I was just interested, and it's gotten me job opportunities. And I didn't even want the job opportunities. It was just a way of me keeping the network warm, and or keep the connection warm. And it's something that people don't do enough, and they should. So think about what value you can bring to this person, this organization, this lead, this newly created relationship, and foster it by adding value to them. Now, I get it, you're in business school, you're going to be busy, you're not going to have the time to do this kind of work all the time, but I strongly recommend, if you're going to be in business school, you better be reading the Wall Street Journal, right? You bet. I bet you that your professors are going to have you read the Wall Street Journal, at least the Marketplace, okay? At least the Marketplace, which I think comes once a week. But you got to be reading that and knowing what's going on in the industry and in the world, right? So once you're doing that, you're thinking about, what does this mean, right? You're reading the articles, you're thinking about what it's meaning. Well, when you're thinking about what it means, well, you go through your mental Rolodex of people you know, people you've had informationals with, and if any of those are, if any of these articles are pertinent to them, send it along. Make sense? That's something that you're already going to be doing in business school, because you need to in business school, and it's something that can help you build your network. Another key thing is, and this is something just generally about networking, is that you should always be fostering your network. It can be anything as simple as making sure your resume, your LinkedIn profile is 100% up to date. It can also be by connecting people and congratulating people on new jobs and things like that. You'd be surprised by how many people have reached out to me because I just said, welcome, congratulations on your anniversary, or congrats on 5 years with your company, or your new promotion, congrats. And I don't just send a canned congrats, I send a personal note. I had somebody who I hadn't talked to in about 5 years. I sent him a happy birthday. He had his birthday. I said, "Happy birthday! It's been so long. Great, good luck, and good luck on what you're doing. Hope you're doing well, whatever." And I sent a quick note to him, and he reached out. He sent me an email. and said, "Hell, it was so good seeing you." I had another person that my old boss at my job at White Wave, and he's now working for TCBY. He's a senior vice president of partnerships, and he had a partnership with one of the White Wave brands. And so I saw it I took a picture of it at the new product, and I sent him a quick note and said, "Saw this, thought of you, and I knew this was, saw your fingerprints on this," or I said, "I knew this was you when I saw it." And he didn't get back to me after like two weeks or something. So I was like, okay, I just forgot about it. And then he sent me this really nice note. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. It's been really crazy, but yes, thanks for recognizing my, what I did." These are things that you just do as part of your network, and not enough people do it. Does it make me stand out that I do it? Yeah, it does. Do people appreciate it? Yeah, they do, because I know I do. And it's these things that make you stand out in a positive way. Do they take time? Yes. Will they take up all your time in business school? Will you be always doing them? No. It's just something that you'll pick up, and it will start to become part of who you are. How do I conduct my... Hopefully I answered that question. If there's any more questions, please put them into the chat, and I'll make sure to answer them. How do I conduct myself during corporate networking events or coffee chats? Okay. Corporate networking events, you're going to always want to be professional, of course, right? Always make sure you bring your business cards, which are going to be the ones you get from business school. And you also want to make sure you speak with, you show a positive body stance, okay? The positive body stance is when you have your shoulders rolled back. So everybody with me, okay, right now, I want you to, even if you're sitting, actually, let's stand up. I'm going to stand up myself. And, okay, and I want you to just roll your shoulders back. Actually, I'm going to put this on the live. Let me do this. You guys stand up and do it, okay? I'm going to, because of the video, I'm going to, there we go. Okay, so you guys can see me. Hello. I want you to now, each of you, I want you to just roll your shoulders back. And imagine I'm standing up, okay? So I'm showing a positive body stance, and I'm rolling my shoulders back. So right now, this would be me hunched over, like this, okay? And now I'm going to roll my shoulders back, and I'm going to smile and go forth and show. You see my hand, right? I'm going forth, and I'm showing positive body stance. That is something that you are going to exude confidence every time you do a networking event, right? Shoulders back, arms out, palms are out like this, or either at your side or out, okay? This is an open body stance. You want to make sure you have that. Oh, gosh, you can't see me. So like this, okay? Like, not like that, but you want to make sure you're talking like this, open body stance and shoulders back. Okay, that's important because you want to, and you also want to speak assertively. Okay, very important. And that's basically the thing that'll help you stand out, is because not a lot of people are so present and so thoughtful and thinking of somebody and looking and making that eye contact and smiling appropriately. These are things that you've got to start to pick up in business school. Let me think. What else? I hope that let me see if that answered the question. Hold on a second. Oh, it didn't. Where did that thing go? Oh boy. Okay, well, yeah, here we go. How do I conduct myself during corporate networking events or coffee chats? Yeah, so that would be something I would recommend you do. And also, always know what you bring to the table. That's why I'm really reinforcing this whole who you are, what are you uniquely doing, and then the next part of it is why is that important, right? Knowing that, then you craft your 30-second pitch. And in your 30-second pitch, you're talking about what you uniquely bring. My 30-second pitch is something that I'll tell you my 30-second pitch. My 30-second pitch is, hi, I'm Veena Kavalam, career and life strategist for women professionals on the rise. I help women professionals get promoted. I help them craft their sorry, I messed that up. I help women professionals define and craft their personal brands so that they can command the worth, the promotion, and the money they deserve. That's my pitch. Okay? Simple, easy, but yeah, I want to get promoted. I want to get the money I deserve. I want to get, you know, the worth, my self-worth. Yeah, I want all that. It's quick. It's something that I've crafted. You've got to have something similar to that based on your industry. Like, what do you bring to the table? If you're an analytical person and you are interested in marketing, you talk about your analytics. You talk about how you're I am a strong analytical person with 5+ years of experience working at the top tier hedge fund. I don't know. Okay, and you highlight what is your point of differentiation. You know, maybe it's a success that you've had, but you've got to know this going into to networking. It's not just about, hi, my name is, because they'll be forgetting you, right? How many times have you gone to a networking event and you basically forgot what everybody else's, their person's name? Please, I'm talking to a person, I forget their name sometimes. Okay, so it's really important to help you stand out. Is what do you bring? What results you bring? When I was always talking about how I was an ex-consultant with a focus on a real drive or passion for understanding what drives the consumer. That was my mix. Really understanding those two components, and that's whenever I was networking, I would talk about that. And ex-consultant, Accenture consultant who with a passion for the consumer. Okay, so that helped. All right, I'm going to move on to the next piece. What do you think? Oh, hold on a second. There was one more question that came through, and I think I missed it. Hold on a second. Okay. I thought I saw. Oh, here it is. No, I missed it. Hold on a second. I think that there was one more. Oh, here it is. Is it better to request a phone interview or an in-person informational interview? Honestly, I think phone interviews are better because you get to it's only 30 minutes or 20 minutes. It's not the commute time to get there, right? It's not having to get this person to go to where the office they're in and have to, get through security, go to their office, meet with them, and they're late, then you got to go. It's just too much of a hassle. Get on the phone, no big issue. You can then also put all your stuff out in front of you. Okay, so you have your resume, you have your resume, you have your note sheet, you have a glass of water in case you start coughing. You got all your stuff that you need there, and you can be in your PJs. Nobody's gonna see you. Okay, so that's a benefit of doing it over the phone. In person, you have to get all dressed up. You got to go over there. You got to commute, and it takes a lot more time. Think about the number of informationals you're going to be doing. Yes, ideally, we'd all want to do them in person because, yeah, you do get to see the body language of the person. But I think I've done the majority of my stuff on the phone, and I'm able to get a lot of it. And it's been very successful for me. So I tend to move toward phone interviews. Now that I'm in my own business and I'm doing more, for you entrepreneurs out there, it's more important for me to meet in person. Just to get a cup of coffee, especially in Denver. That's a thing we do, is we just meet for coffee. In fact, I did that today. But I would prefer to do a lot of things over the phone because it was just easier. So I'm just going to say that. Depends on your industry, okay? It depends on your city, depends on your industry. But for the most part, if you're in New York or any of the major cities, if you're in school or if you're talking to any big corporation folks, they tend to like to be over the phone. Okay. Let me see. Anything else? Any other questions you guys have? I think we're about to close it down because there's no more questions. So if you do have something, please put it in the chat. Even if it's something that wasn't clear, or if you like this, tell me you like it. If you don't like it, tell me why you didn't like it. Please put something in the chat right now, okay? It could be your feedback on this presentation or anything that you thought. I would love your feedback, what worked, what didn't, and thanks. So please put it in the chat. I'm going to patiently wait for your feedback, guys. I know it's going to take me a few minutes to get it, but please do give me your feedback. I really do appreciate it, and I want to make sure this gets better. And I also want to make sure I answer all of your questions. So please let me know if you like this or not. Also, I want to know if you like this feedback, if you like this format, if me talking to the screen is okay, because I was hoping some of you guys would join me live on the Google Hangout. I'd love to see some of you guys and have you guys ask your questions or talk or that if you want. But if you don't, I totally get it. So I'm gonna patiently wait. Just take a sip of water while I wait for your feedback. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to do a plug for this Wednesday's CTLS, pre-CTLS call. Okay, so put your pre-CTLS stuff in. There's a webinar that you can find on the Ning. It's going to be, I think, at 8 o'clock Eastern. Check it out. It should be good. I'm not going to be leading the course. It's going to be, I think, Lauren, okay? So I won't be there, unfortunately. I have a conflict, but I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it will be a lot of fun, but it'll also be an eye-opener for CTLS and just to talk to you about some of the stuff to prepare for that, okay? I'm getting some things coming through, so thank you, thank you. Let's see if there's any questions here. If I can get this thing to work. Gosh, there we go, okay. Okay, thanks, Bina. Thank you. You're welcome, Jasmine. Great presentation. Very helpful in terms of preparing for informational interviews at CTLS. Have a quick question. When researching companies with our groups, should the presentations be 15 or 3 minutes long? Ah, very good question, Ashley. Thank you for asking this. The company research questions. What I'm thinking of was, I was thinking it was going to be a total of 15 minutes. So it would be 10 minutes of presentation. So do research on the company. Really understand, what are the ins and outs of this company, right? You don't want to just do 3 minutes because that's kind of not deep enough, right? You want to do about 10 minutes of work. Talk about the industry. Talk about the industry. Talk about the trends in the industry. Talk about who the key players are in the industry. Talk about, and the company, talk about, some of the key products of the company, bestseller brands, things like that. You want to know all this stuff. So I would say 3 minutes is not enough. I would say about 10 minutes is about right, with 5 minutes for questions and feedback. Okay? So you're going to be doing it in groups of 4. So 10 minutes of content that you deliver, and then 5 minutes of feedback from your team, or questions. They may have questions as well. And then you're going to record the whole thing, all 15 minutes of it all, Google Hangout wise, and then somebody else is going to go at the end of 15 minutes, right? So you're going to each take 15 minutes, and then 10 minutes of focused on the material, 5 minutes questions, answers. So thank you, Ashley, for asking that question. I really appreciate that. Great. Great, yes, and William, yes, you're welcome. The Excel list is extremely important. I really recommend you guys do that. It was so helpful to me. I used it as my master list of everything. It had contacts, it had my interactions with them, any notes I took. Yeah, it was a pain to go in and type it and all that stuff. Boy, did it help. When everybody else was struggling to get information, I had a whole big spreadsheet. It also was helpful when one of the questions, I started doing informationals about, about not compensation, but asking about the range of compensation, what's expected. You wouldn't do that now, but when you're in your second year or end of first year and you're kind of doing, you're looking for internships still, it was really helpful to get an understanding of what is the range I should be expecting. That was helpful. You never ever ask what somebody makes, But you can always ask, what's the range that somebody in this role should expect to make? The range of salaries. That's something you can ask. Yes, the cheat sheet for informational interviews is always good, Jackie. You definitely want to have the cheat sheets. Really helpful to have. That's one of the reasons why I love having phone interviews. Very helpful because it's nobody's going to see you. Nobody's going to see you taking a cheat and seeing all that's on the piece of paper there, and also having other cheat sheets for you about like research on the company and stuff like that. If you have it all laid out in front of you, which is what I also did for interviews, phone interviews as well. Phone, not informational interviews, but phone real interviews. I would just lay everything out for yourself. Well, I think that is pretty much it that has come through. Thank you, everyone who's joined me here today. And definitely join the CTLS call that's coming up. And I look forward to seeing all of you at CTLS in just less than 20 days. So thanks, everybody. Take care.